Yo, nation, happy Thursday. Glad to have you guys. As you'll notice, to my whatever this direction is not Brian, Abandoned Bourbon. He's not with us tonight, preparing for some medical stuff with the family tomorrow. So prayers out to Brian and his family. But we do have Nicholas Brady Maas from Dancing Goat Distillery here in Wisconsin. I'm just a legend. That's the best way I can describe you, Nick. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the most interesting man in whiskey. Thanks for jumping on with us tonight.
Dude, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Sorry I missed the boy Abandoned, but we'll get you next time. And
yeah, this is the second time you missed him. You missed him at
it's like he doesn't like me. It's like he doesn't want to talk.
I think you guys would literally be best friends. Like
I hit him up.
Concern.
When he was able to come, I hit him up and I was just like, hey, man, I can't wait to meet you in person. And I hope all's good with you. But I hit him up when he couldn't make it here to the distillery when you came.
I think his family was sick then, too.
Correct. Yeah, I believe that was what I was told, too.
Yeah, it's a tough scene. I mean, COVID's tough. And then, his little girl has some stuff. But
I feel that.
Yeah. And speaking of which, my little girl has some stuff right now. So if you're crying, my family's sick. It doesn't seem like it's COVID, but bedtime's getting a little rough. Tom dropping the Dancing Goat link in the chat. Tom Lynch, French Extraordinaire. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that. Guys, we're going to get into content fast and furious tonight because we've got Nick for like 30 minutes or so. And my goal is to get him going. I won't talk much at all for 30 minutes because everything he says will be way more interesting than anything I would say. But first, like we are celebrating the fact that we have two unique Dancing Goat picks coming to Nation here in the next couple of months, starting with the Spaniard. And Nick, I was so thrilled when you reached out and said, hey, guess what? I know you said to reach out to you if it was available, and it's available. Give us the story on this. So we've already gone over the specs on it last week, but tell me the story about the Spaniard, as we're calling it.
My absolute favorite thing in the world is that we ended up with you with this barrel because you said, I tasted you on it. Well, when we first met, I do a lot of research. I went through your guys' picks, history. I went through some of your guys' stuff, and I was like, they'd like to see. I think this is something they like to see. And so it started originally was my old distributor in Milwaukee came to me and we were talking about doing single barrels, and they were like, hey, we're really interested we want total wine. They want a barrel, and we're thinking we can get the whole region. And they're like on one barrel. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, the whole region on one barrel? This is a total wine. I was like, come on, guys. And so I was like, how can I get them to buy a barrel per account? And so I was like, I know it needs to be aged inventory, and I got a ton of aged MGP inventory that's really unique. And I knew I could do a gnarly barrel finish that would bring them all together because I have large format barrels. And so I had this one barrel that I got. It's a Spanish oak. It's a 3-year seasoned Spanish oak, charred and toasted. It's a 300 liter. And so it's a pretty big barrel. And so I knew I needed to meet volume for 4 stores for the regional. And so I said, all right, I looked at my corn whiskeys because I have a lot of that inventory. And the corn whiskeys I love because it's MGP corn whiskey, 100% corn, aged in used cooperage. And this is, we do a lot of messing around with the MGP in terms of, when we source, we'll sometimes sprinkle in different yeasts. We'll have them, we use mostly vintage cooperage. That's kind of how we make difference with our MGP sourcing. But these are great because it's traditional corn whiskey, so it's in used cooperage. Otherwise, it'd be a bourbon, right? But they finish really well. And so Spanish oak is super aggressive from a tannic perspective. It extracts super fast. And so I knew, 6 to 9 months in this barrel is going to turn this into a banger because it was already a great baseline. The 100% corn from MGP, it's sweet, it's light. There's very light vanilla notes in it, and it takes tannin super well, and it complements that super well. And so I knew the Spanish oak, which can get kind of harsh for most other things, for spirit, really soft and delicate, it would add a really nice dimension to it. And so found 3 that complement each other that I thought could use a little bit more of a pop, and then just threw them in there and let it sit. And the crazy thing is one of the barrels was a heater. It was on the first floor it spent like 4 years on the first floor of a warehouse in MGP where most of my corn is in the first subterranean. And so it had a higher proof than the other ones. And so it actually kicked up most of them come out about 117. That kicked it up to over 120, which with the Spanish oak really extracted super well. And so we just let it sit and then spend, it's time to taste Total Wine on it. And Total Wine, They didn't want to talk to me. I don't know why, but they didn't want to talk to me. So the rep went in there, sold them that barrel and then another one, but it got held up for corporate approval. And so we kept following up. And that's when I met you. And I showed you that barrel because I was thinking, well, this might fall through. And this is something that he'd probably like because I kind of was looking at like there's things that you have liked in the past in your podcast. And so I pulled it out. You were like, yo, if this comes available, let me know. I was like, hell yeah, I'll let you know. And then lo and behold, I get a call. And they said Total Wine wants to focus on their own brands for Q4, and they're not going to come out with any more local, like small local single barrels. And I was like, all right, that's fine. Called you up, and you were like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, send it to me. I need to get Brian on it, but I want to taste it again.
It's different. Well, you know what the funny thing about it is the barrel is really unique. So the barrel originally was developed for Beam Suntory. And Beam Suntory, for some reason, and I can tell you why I think that reason is, Beam Suntory decided it was no good, not adequate for their purposes. And so it was made by ISC, but then ISC transferred them to Kentucky Bourbon Barrel, which is a barrel reseller that they own that sells mostly used barrels and imported used barrels. And so they had, I think, 8 or 10 of them, or I think like 4 of them or something. And I was such an idiot. I only bought one. I should have bought them all. And I don't know where they went, and they won't tell me. And so once I realized that when that came out of a banger, I was like, we got to do that again and again and again. I was like, let's jump on that Spanish oak train. And so I call my dudes over there, Chad at ISC, and I hope you guys hit up Chad and you go, Chad, get him the Spaniard. But I started this dumb thing on the line where I just put up a story, and it was a story of me walking. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I had so much fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. And that's the kind of thing. Like, this is like my playground, and all my friends work here. And so we just have a lot of fun with social media, just kind of jacking around. And so I made this crazy long, and I was tagging the president of the company, president of product development, head of the lab, head of sales. And I was just, and people just started posting, get him the Spaniard, because I kept saying, make this for me. And they go, no. Our lab test said this doesn't extract well. No one ever wanted it. We're not going to. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I will buy as much as this as I have to get it. I'll buy a whole container. You want me to buy a C container? I'll buy a C. No, we're not going to do it. And so it got to the point where we were sitting at the Piggly Wiggly right outside of Cambridge. And my buddies, and Bo walks up to the car. He's like, hey, man, you've got your phone. He hands me my phone. And on my phone, there's a text. And I look at it. It's Noah from Kentucky Bourbon Barrel. He's one of my homies. And it goes, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I just got a call from HR. And I was like, what? And he goes, HR just called me to make sure everything's okay. They want to know who the Spaniard is. And I was like, they want to know who it is? Is that a person? And so it got a reaction from them. And what ended up happening is they have more, but they don't have enough. They don't have actual staves to make barrels. They have staves to make inserts. And I'm not interested. I don't want to do inserts. I've done a lot of French oak inserts, and I'm cool. And like, the crazy thing with like oak inserts is like most people are like, oh, you don't want to do that, but like Makers does it. It's like, everyone will drink Makers, so why won't you drink our product that does it? But with the Spanish oak, I don't want to macerate Spanish oak in there because it's too much. I just want to kiss it. So the large format barrel for the Spanish oak is the way to go. The only way to go. 53 would be too much, too little solvent for solute. And so the reason why I don't think it worked well for Beam Suntory was because they're already a straight bourbon. So they've already got a lot of tannic acid, and just the tannins from Quercus alba do not complement. Heavy tannic activity from Quercus alba does not complement this tannin. They don't layer well, right? It's kind of obtuse. And so that's why I went with something that was lacking tannic, that really needed that pop. And so with the Spanish oak on this one with these corn whiskeys, it's pretty. I mean, it's 7. I think there's 7 years, right? Is it 7 years?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7 on 7 years, 74 days. I think it was, and I love it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah, I can't I'm trying to preach the gospel of this particular whiskey, and I got Brian on board. Of course, Eric was there. He tasted it. I gave him some more of it. I gave him a big old sample from this bottle. So Eric Sawyer in the chat, he's trying to get people. He was with me. Him and Matt Pletz were the guys who were there. So we're all saying like, yes, this is great whiskey and it's so unique. And, we've got 150 bottles to start with here, which that should have been picked up, right? It should have shipped out.
It shipped yesterday.
Okay, great. So hopefully next week we can start getting it in the hands of the nation and people will see the light.
I hope so. I hope so. I just saw that Eric had said someone sell the Dancing Goat more Spanish oak barrels. If you guys want to help me, hit up Brad Boswell 54 on ISC. If you can't remember that, just go to Independence Dave Company. You'll see pictures of him. There's a picture of him right now talking to a graduating class. Click on Brad Boswell, send him a message. He's the president. And also ISC, Oak Solutions Group, and Kentucky Bourbon Barrel, and Amy LaHue. All those people, harass them respectfully on Instagram, but just let them know, hey, we need Spanish oak at the Dancing Goat. We want to see it. Because they think I have to send them a bottle to get them to realize that they should buy more.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe we should just send them one of our bottles and be like,
I stole one of yours for it.
Imagine. Yeah.
And that's it's people it's really easy for another example, right? So I have these barrels here. Do you know the Jack Daniel's Gold label?
Yes.
Yep. Very not in super wide distribution, and it's not. I don't think it's continuing. I think they're done with it. And the reason why is because they sold the barrels to Kentucky Bourbon Barrel, and I bought them. And the reason why they didn't want them is Maplewood is really, really hard, and so it doesn't really want to make a clean joint. Because when it starts to dry out, those joints open in between.
Yeah, no, I remember you showing me they're falling apart, basically.
Yeah, they are. But they look like a rock.
Staple them together.
Yeah, they're stapled together and been waxed a million times. But I love them because they give it's not good. What we do is we're not just trying to make great single barrels. We're trying to make phenomenal blenders. And when we make phenomenal blenders, we often come across stellar single barrels.
Yeah.
And specifically like for as a blender, it adds an earthy bitterness that as a single barrel, it does not with value. But when you have things that are too bright or too light, you put a little dark undertone to them, and it helps that citrus or those. I like to speak in colors often. Like if something's a little bit too pale yellow and it's not like gold, you take a little darkness, you turn it gold, and that's really what I really like with blenders.
That analogy, yeah.
And that's what I like about the maple. I got a couple. So I have an 8-year right now. Maple. Hey, Dad, I'm on an Instagram upstairs. I gotta go.
Hi, Dad.
Come say hi. Come up here and say hi. He's a co-owner. My co-owner, my business partner, Dad. Come up here. I'm sorry, I got distracted. My dad's in my head now. I feel like I'm gonna get
no problem. We were talking about maple.
Oh, the Maplewood. What I love about the Maplewood is I have a blend in there of 44 rye bourbon mash. It's bourbon mash because remember, I'm a big used cooperage person. 44 rye bourbon mash and 95 rye. Both my source stuff from MGP. But my own unique kind of source stuff because we double yeasted it and then it's in the used cooperage. We did a blend of that. And we got it finishing. I wouldn't call it finishing. It's aging because it's been 2 years. So we're looking to hit that to 10. And then once we get to 10 with that, we have a really big blend planned with some 21-year-old. Well, it'll be 23 at that time. Light whiskey. Yeah. We got some good stuff coming.
Dude, I don't think we tasted any light whiskey I just got to get back out there. I just
come back out, man. We'd love to have you.
Are you hiring?
I am hiring.
I have a great job. Hiring, actually. I just want to come play with whiskey with you all day.
I'm hiring. Come on over.
Sweet. Let's talk about before we get because I definitely want to hear your story and let everybody hear the Dancing Goat story. I assume most of the people in the chat probably have seen the Dancing Goat video I put together, that little overview, which was a lot of fun. But let's talk about suggestions of buttercream, which is what the barrel that'll come out probably December, maybe early January, when we'll release that. So tell us the story of this 21 rye bourbon.
21 RB, is that an 8? I think it's an 8.
Yeah, it is an 8. Yep. Yeah. So
8.
Barrel 4259, 115 proof, basically. You didn't put the age on here, but I know it's over 8.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an 8. So that suggestions of buttercream is a cool story. So me and my dad were sitting there, and my uncle calls, and so my uncle, he's not my blood uncle. He's like my uncle that like, like never had kids and like gets really drunk and like sleeps on your couch, like your dad's friend that like sleeps on your couch and like wakes up on there on Christmas and like fills your stocking, like that kind of uncle. He's one of the salesmen at MGP, and so he hits me up with lots all the time, and he's like, hey, they want to liquidate, they want to sell the whole lot, and what we like to do is we like to buy whole lots because we don't want to miss out on things. So we'll buy whole lots, and then we'll call the herd. We'll either blend things off. We'll put them in if they're single barrel, we put them in a single barrel thing, or we can tote it and we can move it to a broker if it doesn't meet our flavor profiles. So we got an opportunity to pick up a 140 barrel lot, and it was mostly 21 rye bourbon and 36 rye bourbon. We rehomed the 36s because I didn't like what they were real low. They were on third floor subterranean MGP warehouse W. And so I don't like that warehouse at all. And I don't like that floor. That floor gets that floor is thick. I mean, you walk through, the air's thick, it's humid, all the barrels, the hoops are all rusting. I mean, it's gross down there. And so we had the 36s were down there, and I have this little mine shaft tool, and it has a little fan on it that gets spun by the ambient air. And so it tests airflow, it'll tell me humidity, it'll tell me barometric pressure. And so it's for people in mine shafts, like who are inspecting it, but we use it to inspect MGP when we buy new lots. And so I'm in there, I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, this ain't that bad in this corner. And I walk, I'm like, no. Yes. No, yes. I'll keep this lot. I was like, we'll keep this one. I want you to tote the rest where you get rid of it. And so they toted, shipped it, we brokered it, all good. But then that one slot that we had 19 barrels in it. And there was 4 oated bourbons, there was 4 high malt bourbons, and then there was, I think it was 3 36% ryes, and then the rest were all 21% ryes. And so the one that you got, Suggestions of Buttercream, I picked that out because it is very light. It has a really, I call it like a creamed vanilla note, because it's not exactly like frosting, like cheap frosting from a cake. It's like you said, it's Suggestions of Buttercream, right? And so it's almost like it's like vanilla with like a malt tail on it, if that makes sense on the finish. Didn't really have, it had cherry early, like that consistent, like 21 rye cherry that like we all love on MGP. Yeah. But that kind of started to fade at 5. We picked it up at, I think, 4.5 years. About 5.5 years, it started to go down. But then that vanilla with that kind of malty, and like when I'm saying like vanilla malt, I'm not trying to say like vanilla and like malt, but like if you got like a vanilla malt, like a ice cream shake. Kind of, because like malt has that it's a deeper flavor than just vanilla or cream. There's depth to it. And it was on the nose. And I always liked that one. When you were coming, I was like, oh, we'll throw this one in there. And we went through a couple. And I remember you liked a few, but that one really stood out to you. And I remember you smelled it and you looked up at me and you kind of smiled in your Jupon way. And you're like, Suggestions of Buttercream. I love buttercream. I think you went like this. It's my favorite tasting note. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. In bourbon, it is. Yeah,
in bourbon, it's your favorite tasting note. And so I was just lucky because I didn't know that was your favorite tasting note, but that really resonated. I remember when we were going through, and Sawyer liked it too. I can't remember exactly which one was his favorite. I don't think that was it, but he did really like that one too when he tasted it. I remember. But that's a banger. That's one of those MGP barrels that it's, with MGP at cast strength, you usually end up with 2 things. I mean, and this is just my own personal experience looking at hundreds of barrels. This isn't I'm not talking about every single MGP barrel, right? But depending on where your lots are at in the ricks there. And like the other thing to remember is MGP isn't actually ricks. Like there's a couple old school rick houses, like actual rick houses like what we built. But most of it now is palletized 7-story buildings, 3 subterranean, 4 high, or 3 subterranean, 2 high.
I've not toured there, so this is really interesting.
Well, you can't really tour when they're starting to do tours now that MGP bought them, or that they bought Luxco. Yeah, they're going to start doing tours now because the Lux family is really kind of opened their out. So when they bought Luxco, Donnie Lux ended up on the board of MGP, and one of the things that he said is, "Why wouldn't you tour this place? Like turn this place into?" Yeah, I'm going to steal.
We all want to go there, and we all want to see it.
Dude, let me tell you, the first time I went to MGP, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. You walk in there, and at the time, they had 17 stills. 17. They have more now, but they had 17. Multiple floors. Their botanical cooler, which is like a walk-in freezer, it's taller than the building of my distillery. It's over 40 feet tall, and it's just filled with botanicals to making gin. You didn't even realize how much gin they make. It's crazy. It's absolutely astounding how much booze they make there. And every floor you get to, it's like, all these are for this column that never turns off, and all these are for these pot stills. It's crazy. And you just keep walking. It's just room after room after room of smells and stills and stillmen everywhere. And then I walk in this one room, and this dude just turns out and looks at me and goes, "You must be special. Who are you?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm Nick Maas. How are you?" And he goes, "Ray Furman. Damn glad to meet you. Best distiller here." He starts cracking himself up. I'm like, who is this cat? I was like, come on, let's hang out. And so when we're leaving,
let's be best friends.
This is, for sure. No, I got drinking stories for days, and me and him going out just getting wicked. I mean, Ray's probably double my age. I won't be polite. Ray's triple my age, and he drinks like 3 times as much as I do. He's crazy. I don't drink that much anymore, but
the next time, I just want to get this out there. The next time you have to go down there, you just let me know. I'll walk, I'll run, I'll wear a suit, whatever I have to do, and I'll just be I'll carry stuff for you.
Dude, I am going down there on I think it's the 21st. We're going down. We got a lot, 880 barrels of 21 rye bourbon in the subterranean floor. And you know how I feel about subterraneans. And I just got space opened up on floor 2 above ground. I'm not inviting you, but I'll FaceTime you because I don't think I have the power to invite people.
Well, if you ever,
but they are going to open for tours. They are going to open for tours. I do know that. Have you been to Lux Row?
No, I've driven past it, but I've not been
you
there
should go.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. It is.
Yeah. I mean, that's
stellar.
evident.
Yeah, it is still. I love that place. It inspired. It's my third equipment install here. It's completely, I mean, I'm not even ashamed to say it. Me and my process engineer walked through there. Or no, my COO, process engineer didn't come. Me and my COO walked through there, and they let us take pictures, and we copied almost everything.
Nice.
And we went there and got a master's degree in process flow.
Sweet.
It was crazy. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome.
The viscosity. So I'm drinking my last little bit of buttercream here. The viscosity is wonderful, and it got the delicious sweetness, and it's got enough, residual MGP spice. And I still get some stone fruit in there too, Nick. Like that, the cherry is not totally absent. So I love this one. Like I'm just so thrilled with these barrels, and now that I've tried them so many times, I have 100% confidence that other people will love them too. But we'll move on because I want people to just hear your story, because that's one of the most interesting things to me, and creating a YouTube channel and talking about whiskey is ultimately the stories behind it. So I'm just going to give you a full green light here with the remaining time you have left, and you go as long as you want, and you tell us whatever you want about your journey in whiskey and how that's coalesced into Dancing Goat as we know it today.
Cool. So when I was a kid, my dad was worked for Beam, and my dad was mostly focused on business aspects of bourbon and whiskey. He spent about a decade at Brown Forman, and they spent about 2.5 decades at Beam, where he eventually ended up being the VP of Global Whiskeys, essentially the head of marketing for Global Whiskeys. And that was through the 90s into the early 2000s. And my grandfather had always been in process. And so he started selling commercial ethanol and like solvents originally right after he got out of the Korean War. And then he was this is a cool story. He was on a train playing bridge. And he was playing bridge with the president of Fleischmann's. And the guy was, my grandpa was like 29. And he didn't know he was the president of Fleischmann's. And my grandpa was working for Shell at the time selling ethanol. As a solvent, like isopropyl ethanol, which wouldn't be ethanol, that'd be isopropyl alcohol. Sorry. And so they play this game of bridge, and my grandpa smokes the whole table. And this guy looks at me and he goes, "Do you want a job?" And my grandpa's like, "I have a great job." And he goes, "Do you want to be the president of president of one of our distilleries?" And he goes, "Absolutely. I work for Shell right now." And that's how my grandpa got into it. And so fast forward, 30 years of life, right? And I exist. I'm about 12 years old. I go to my grandpa in China. I'm like, "Hey, man," I was like, "I want to do what you do." And he was like, "Well, what do I do?" And I was like, "I don't know. You do what my dad does." He goes, "I do not do what your dad does." And so I was like, "Well, what do you do?" Because I want to be you. I want to be my dad. And he goes, "You need to be yourself." And I go, "What do you do?" And he goes, "I play with stuff like this." He goes, "Go pick up that pot." Picks up a pot. He goes, "Go get that funnel." I go get a funnel. He's like, "Get a soldering iron." I'm like, "What the hell's a soldering iron?" But we sat there and we made a little pot still. And he basically explained, he's like, "So we're going to fill it, we're going to boil it." And we just boiled water in it and just screwed around. But he explained about how he makes chemicals. He didn't call it alcohol. He makes chemicals. And this is a vessel he uses to make them. And anytime I want to use it, I can come up and use it with him. He teach me about science and the world. And, it was this beautiful thing that inspired me, And so fast forward to high school chemistry, we start doing distillations. I'm like, "Oh, I remember this." And I always knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be like my grandpa. I wanted to be like my dad. I ended up like a scumbag for a couple of years, and I pulled my head on my ass, and I was working mostly I was working mostly in bars, bartending. I was saving up to open my own bar, and I was working a little bit with a rising industry in the country. And my father called me, and he said, "I want you to come and build this bottling line for your grandpa." And I was like, "Cool, all right." So I ditched school. I built this bottling line, and we built this bottling line in a little warehouse that my grandpa was using to import garden carts from China. And I'm like, "Why the hell are we putting a bottling line in here?" And he goes, well, that rumchata that you and your dad, he goes, that horchata liqueur that you and your dad came up with, we're doing it. And I was like, what? I was like, we're going to do the horchata liqueur we came up with? I was like, we came up with that in the kitchen. Like, what are you talking about? And so we ended up building the bottling line. And this is literally, it was an old tomato can. It's like a tomato canning line. Shows up, and this thing's older than shit. Yeah, fuck yeah. This thing's older than shit. And I'm looking at this thing, it's covered in rust. And I'm like, all right, what do you need me to do, Grandpa? And he goes, this is Keenan. He's your boss. And I was like, all right. My grandpa walks away. So I'm looking at like a 65-year-old guy named Keenan. And he's looking at me, looking kind of like I am now, but I was a little skinnier. I was a little better looking back then. And he looks at me, he goes, steel brushes, mineral spirits, gloves are in the closet. Get all the rust off it. I was like, are you serious, man? And he's like, yeah. And so pick up these steel brushes, and I start scrubbing this thing. I get all the paint off. I get all the rust off it. And then he comes in, he goes, all right, we're going to rethread the ballast. And so we took all the ballast off, clean out the threads. He taught me how to rethread them, put them back in there. Right. I was getting a master's degree just on process and all this stuff. I didn't even realize it.
And rust removal.
Yeah. And mostly rust removal, right. And rethread and all that stuff. But things rust here all the time. It's great. Like it's so applicable to what I'm doing now. And there's so many elements of distilling and whiskey making that people don't even think of. That we're distilling diluted GNS to make gin, which means we're creating tons of humidity, which means things are going to rust. We got to deal with that, or you got to plan it out. And all these things culminated into the knowledge set that I've been using recently to run this place on my own with my friends and family, right? And when I say on my own, it's not alone. It's without my grandpa. And so the idea was we built this bottling factory. We took Rumchata as a national brand from literally the trunk of our cars. I mean, I was bootlegging it back to Iowa, and I was serving it in the Airliner bar in Iowa City. Somehow the Cinnamon Toast Crunch Shot was invented in Iowa, and boom.
Yeah.
My whole life changed. My whole life changed. And so I became a rep, and I started doing sales work, and I started doing market work. But the most valuable place for me was actually on-premise sales work, trying to get into cocktails, which is really hard with a cream liqueur, like really, really hard. But it taught me a lot about, and this is going to sound crazy, taught me a lot more about chemistry, because I had to learn about pH, and I learned about the pH of whiskeys. Well, why do some whiskeys cure rum shot and others don't? Oh, tannic acid. And that's something I'm obsessed. Tannic acid is something I am obsessed with now, And so all of these things kind of led me to this place in life. And it was 2016, and my grandpa had gone to China for bottling. I mean, my grandpa's 88 years old. So he's about to go to China, and I'm walking through our plant in Pewaukee, and he literally just climbed to the top of 3 pallets. And I'm like, what are you doing up there? And he goes, I'm making sure they're not stealing from us. And I'm like, who's they? I'm like, who's that? I was like, get down here. And so he climbs down. He looks at me, smiles, and goes, let's go cook some steak. He gives me a hug. And I was like, man, you hugging me now? I was like, because he thought he wasn't hard and he wasn't cold. He wasn't able to access. I have a very social side of me that comes from my mother's side. But it was very difficult for him to connect with people. And one of the ways he did that was with ethanol. He could connect with other men who did drink because he didn't drink, because he made ethanol. They thought it was cool. And so he gave me a hug. I remember how regular that was. And we went and made some steak, and I drove home. And next time I saw him, he was back from China, laid up on a bed because he caught this gnarly virus. It's a virus that lives in your spine. It's almost like meningitis, but it wasn't meningitis. If it was, we would figure it out. Ends up getting MRSA. And so they say to him, they go, hey, Dwayne, here's the deal, man. If you could exercise, we could give you this drug and you'd be able to get MRSA out of your system, but you can't exercise. You can't move, because he couldn't move. And because the infection, he couldn't move from the waist down. And so they're like, you got a couple options. You can white knuckle it and you got to deal with it. And the MRSA is probably going to kill you. We can give you painkillers, but the state you're in right now, it's going to suppress your cardiovascular system, your respiratory system. You're going to go down. Or, you can take the pills and try to exercise. So he tried to couldn't do it. And so once that was the case, they're like, okay, we're going to give you the painkillers. He goes, never taken a drug in my life. I'm not starting now. And he actually lived. He lived. He survived the MRSA infection, and MRSA won't leave your body. It lives there forever. And so it keeps giving you trouble as you go on. But so he ends up laid up for the next year and a half. And at this point in time, my dad had already approached me to say, we want to build a distillery to celebrate your grandpa's life. And I said, hell yeah, let's do it. But then grandpa died in the middle of planning it. And so we had to figure all this shit out, and it's a lot of shit to figure out. It's never ending fuckery to figure out. And it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of banging my head against the wall. But eventually I found a buddy, and me and him designed a still together, and he built it for me. So we had our first still. And I was like, hell yeah, now I need to crack this whip. And when I say crack whip, I mean like work a still. And so, of
course,
so I've been doing a lot of short path lab distillations on the other industry that I was working in. So I was very familiar with chemical distillation, but going from a lab still to a huge still, there's tons of consequences in terms of thermodynamics, flow dynamics. I mean, it just costs money. It costs money to ferment grain, and that grain's expensive. And when you mess it up, that sucks, And so I needed help. And so I signed up for a class with Dave Pickerell, and it was an ADI distilling masterclass. Let me tell you, if you want to open a distillery, run as far away from an ADI distilling masterclass as you can, because it will not help you. No one will help you. They're there to take advantage of you. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I'm there to take advantage of them, because that's like what class is for. But it's one of those things where you go and you try to get information, and these consultants just say, well, that's something I'd cover as a consultant. It's like, I paid you for this class to make me a whiskey ninja master, and now you want to be my consultant? I'm like, you're my consultant for the next 3 days.
Highway robbery.
Yeah. And it's as simple as how do I keep my grain from clumping when I put it in? You'd think they would tell you that at a whiskey masterclass, but no, it's something that handles a consultant, right? And so I signed up for this one with Pickerell, and there's another guy there I'm not going to speak his name because he's still in the industry and we don't like each other, but he works for a very popular distillery. And I don't want to talk.
Well, we're Team Nick here.
Team Nick Nation. Team Nick Nation.
Yeah. Well, now it's Nick Nation.
Nick
it's also Neat Nathan, so now it's Nick Nathan. That's what.
Nick Nathan. Nick Nappin. Nick and Nappin.
Anyway, keep going. You're at this. You're with Dave.
So
although I will tell you, you're at 8:34. I'm going to warn you.
I'll keep going. We'll keep going. I told you this would happen.
You got to care for your wife too. So I want to be respectful.
She's already asleep. Well, I thought I was going to be in the basement, but I'm still at the distillery. So I'll keep going. I'll keep rolling.
I'm working.
Yeah, I am working.
I have to.
I got it. Bo's
selling
sitting
whiskey.
Here cracking the whip on me. He's cracking the whip on me right now. And so I'm in this class, and if you knew Dave, me and Dave's relationship. Man, I was talking about Dave earlier today. I started crying. I had a wonderful relationship with Dave. He was the most kind and caring person I ever met. But the one thing that Dave loved more than anything in the world was having fun. It's the one thing that he embraced more than anything. He loved more than anything. And he'd get excited about whiskey. He'd get excited about people that were excited about whiskey. And he'd get excited about people that were wanting to have fun. And that's one of the things that I've embraced since pretty much my whole life is I have a joy for life. And so I walk into this thing, probably smell a little bit like pot. I look just like this, except skinnier. And I sit down, and he's sitting there. Dave, you could always tell when Dave was out drinking, because he'd be all swollen-eyed. He'd have his hat real low. And so he's sitting there, his hat low, and he's like literally sleeping in the corner, just waiting for his turn to come up. And the reason why I tell you not to go to the ADI master classes isn't because of this one. It's because of subsequent ones that I went to. Okay. But so we're in this one, and they give us the whole spiel about how they can help us in our business development, all this stuff. And then it's time for Dave to talk. And Dave gets up, and he starts talking about, you want to be a distillery? It's all about efficiency. Let's talk about cooling water efficiency. And he starts talking to us. He's not the whiskey masterclass. I was like, how do I unclump my grain? And he's like, I'm going to teach you about 3-phase cooling with glycol city water and chilled water. And he just started in it. And everyone's like, what the? And so we were going through all this stuff. And I said some dumbass shit to him, because I'm always saying dumbass shit. And I kept getting looks from him. And then finally we get to actual whiskey making, not 3-phase cooling, which was a day later. And Dave's up there talking about proofing. And I'm like, well, like, what's this deal with like accelerated aging? I was like, what's the deal? I was like, I'm not trying to do it, but like, I'm just curious. And he goes, there's a lot of ways to do it. But, you know, the big thing at the end of the day is you need oxidation and you don't really get it. And I look at him and I just look him square in the eyes and go, what if I pumped ozone into the rick house or the storage area and sealed it? And he looked at me and he goes, that's a phenomenal idea. And that's all he said. And I was like, cool. Ozone, fucking cool. Right? and so I'm sitting, and mind you, ozone is like hepatotoxic. It's not safe.
Yeah,
right?
It's not good stuff.
But that would work. It would work for sure. In a way, it would cause oxidation, right? And so we're sitting there, and we get to proofing because we were still on proofing, but I was because
you jumped the shark,
yeah. Well, I assumed proofing was a part of accelerated aging. I just made that assumption, and I didn't really know what those people were. I mean, realistically, people who are accelerated aging are like pressure cooking staves in which I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend to anybody do, because I've done it. It's not the best way to do it. So he says to me, he goes, you just got to let nature take its course. I'm like, for sure you do. And I go, well, like, what about élevage? And he looks at me and he goes, what do you know about élevage? And I go, nothing. I don't speak French. I'm trying to get this stuff.
I don't even know what that is.
Élevage is a theory of blending and proofing that comes out of cognac manufacturing and Armagnac. And the idea is that you can elevate your spirits with tender care and love. And so like proofing doesn't need to dilute and destroy flavor. It can accentuate it and build it. But you have to embrace élevage. You have to embrace the principles. And it's everything from how much water you add to how you add it to what kind of water you use to if you rest that water, age that water, if you boisé that water. There's elements of boisé, and boisé is like a culture or like the way that you treat your spirits and you process them, right? And so for specifically boisé is a really popular it's a very popular proofing technique in French spirits and some other spirits where essentially you boil or you cook wood chips. You make like a tannic tea. And I knew about boisé, and so that's why I started bringing up élevage to him. And so he says to me, he's like, what do you know about élevage? I'm like, nothing. I don't speak French, dude. I'm trying to get it translated. And he looks at me and he goes, you figure it out, you let me know. And I look at him and I go, what if I barrel age my proofing water? And he stops, he looks at me and he goes, that'd be real expensive, son. That's probably a good idea. And I was like, all right. I was like, number 2 on here. So he goes back and he sits down, and and finally this dude comes in from ADI and he goes, hey, I just want to make sure I got everyone's name and number. And he takes my name. And as soon as he said Maas, Pickerell looks at me, and I'm sitting there, and I don't even pay, but he caught my eye because he was like, and he comes right up to me and he goes, Maas, are you Dwayne's son? And I look at him, I go, I'm Tom's son. I'm Dwayne's grandson. And he goes, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, go work with Dwayne. And I look at him, I go, Dwayne's about to die. Dwayne's on his deathbed. And he looks at me and he goes, what? I go, yeah, I'm here because me and my dad are trying to build a distillery in honor of his life, and he died helping us make it. Now I'm fucked. I got a pot still I don't know how to hook up or run. And he looks at me and he goes, we're gonna take care of you. This is my number. He goes, this is my cell phone, my personal cell phone. I'm gonna take care of you. And so I called him and I offered to hire him as my consultant, right?
Yeah.
And so I call him and I get him on the phone. I'm like, hey, bro. I was like, we'll pay whatever we need. And he looks at me, he goes, I'm not taking your money, man. He's like, you're gonna do the work. I'm not gonna do the work. You're gonna do the work, and we're gonna get this right. And we started at square one, and we planned everything out. And I'd sit with my dad. I'd sit with other people that we had hired as consultants or people that were like vendors that, like the people that sold us the boilers can help us hook up the boiler. They can help us with the steam lines. And then I'd go with Dave and I'd be like, how does this look? He'd be like, no, we don't want to run like that because we don't want the steam pressure to hammer like that. Let's run out these corners and let's just get everything in place. And so he introduced me to another guy that helped me a lot. I signed an NDA with him, so I can't say his name, but if he's watching, if he ever watches, I'll send this to him. So he is watching. I love you and thank you. And you shouldn't have us sign NDAs to consult with you because
that's crazy.
You deserve all the business. He just don't want to be bothered. He's an old Kentucky hound. He can't be bothered. He's so busy. He's so busy. And he wants to raise his grandkids. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah.
You get it. You get it. Yeah. He's been building distilleries his whole life. He's like my grandpa. He built distilleries his whole life. Oh, ever since my grandpa never stopped working, he's ain't no. I'm just kidding. But so we built this great facility, and Blacken did a launch. Of course, Dave hits us up. He's like, "Hey, we want to come to Madison. Metallica's playing there. Is it Metallica? I think it's Metallica Blacken, right? It's Metallica.
That's correct.
Yeah. Metallica's playing there. We want to do a launch event at the place. I want to see it." So we walk through the whole place, which is right behind me down here. And hey, there we go. There, that's the Black and Willet. I got the original downstairs. That's the Black and Willet for sure. I haven't tried that one. And so they do this crazy sonic tasting, and Dave is just being Dave. Dave is just owning the whole universe, walking through, and everyone wants a piece of it. He keeps just looking at me, winking at me. And so Dave goes, "I'm taking us on our tour. Let's go." And we take a tour. And the bourbon, I swear to God, the bourbon god himself toured my facility. And it was amazing. And I watched him give a full tour. And he goes, look at what Nicky did here. Look what Nick and Mike did over here. Look what Nick and Travis did over here. Went through the whole place talking about what we had done and why we'd done it. And then we get back to the front, the tasting room, those big glass doors. And he opens the door for everybody. He grabs me real quick. He's like, let's take another walk. And me and him walked alone through the facility. And we were right over there. And we walked in, and he pointed up at this insulation. It's a fucking steam pipe insulation. And he looks at it and he goes, "That's beautiful, man. That was such a clever idea to tuck that away like that." And I was like, "Thank you." And we walked another like 10 feet, and he goes, "I want you to redo these. I want you to redo these floors. I want you to put another 1/8-inch pitch on the floor." I was like, "When we pluck it out, I promise you I will." And he put his fucking arm around me, and he said to me, he goes, "Boy," he says, "Boy, what a beautiful, wonderful investment. Your grandpa would be so proud of you." And I said, "Thank you, man." I was crying then. He gave me a hug. And I said, "Sir, you're late. You got to go. Your limo's here." And he hopped in his limo. He went to the Metallica show. And he texted me the next day when they're on the road. He said, "Thanks for having me, man. I miss you. I'll come back." And then 15 days later, he passed away. And it was really hard because it felt like everybody that fucking helped me build this place fucking left me, and I was sitting there and I was fucking broken and I didn't know what to fucking do. And I got these things and I'm not qualified. I'm not fucking qualified to do this. I'm some punk from fucking Illinois. Can't get his shit together. But you know what I did? I woke the fuck up. I went to work. I put my goddamn boots on. I figured it out. And I wasted so much grain. I wasted so much ethanol. I threw out batches that didn't taste good. And eventually I figured it out. And I had a lot of help from people that were really smart. One thing I didn't choose to do, which I did not choose to bring in additional consultants from that point in time. I didn't want to bring people that were going to influence what came off the stills. I really wanted to live in the memory of Dave and live in the memory of Dwayne, my grandpa, and just everyone else that had helped me here. And we started from the bottom, just the basics. And we built from there. We started laying down barrels. And this whole time, we already sourced some MGP. And what we did originally is we went in there, and everyone was buying MGP at the time. Hey, there's the cast strength. Everyone was buying MGP.
That's what I'm sipping now.
Hell yeah. The cast strength now, you do like that cast strength.
I do. Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah, it's almost gone. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'll send you another. Man, I love it. I'll rip you one out of the new Solera. I'll give you a little special edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one thing that we did when we went to MGP is we didn't just want to have regular MGP. And so the first thing we didn't do was we only bought used cooperage that existed. And then we started filling lots. And we filled lots. We said, hey, you know what? Let's mess with this. Let's make this really unique. And so we added a second use to it. And so what the first couple of years of lots we got is actually a completely unique MGP. No one else can have it because unless they used our same yeast that we brought in, because MGP has its own LDI, the Lawrenceburg Distilling International, I think it's international ingredients. And then also all the old Seagram's yeast, they still have all the same cultures. And so they use those, and allegedly no one else has them outside. Like, I'm not saying allegedly like I have them, but it's like somebody eventually probably got those out of there. I'd bet on it for sure. Because you could just culture. I mean, I haven't tried it, but you could hit up MGP, and I bet you I could buy a tanker mash room. And if I bought a culture mash, I could culture out of there. I don't know anyone that's done that, but I bet it's been done for sure.
Interesting.
But so when you use yeast, you can do something real clever called autolysis. So when yeast run out of sugar, they start to eat each other, and they start throwing off what you would traditionally call off flavors in traditional bourbon mechanics. But what what also ends up happening is it creates really nuanced, delicate, light flavors like fruity notes, floral notes, like lightly acidic fruity notes like fleshy pear, things like that really pop well. And so the other thing that'll happen with autolysis is once they start, if you let it sit too long, after one yeast starts eating the other yeast, they'll start eating the flocculated yeast bodies on the ground, which will start doing more what you would traditionally call an off flavor, but what I would call a really subtle, gnarly, fucking awesome flavor for some whiskey. And the final thing they'll start doing is they'll actually start eating ethanol and processing that ethanol down to metabolize that. But by then it's a real gnarly ferment. It's gone, it's soured. It's probably 4 or 5 days. I mean, 6-7 days. I'm not letting ferment sit that long, but that's like the process of a yeast life. And so what you can do is you can pitch a second yeast that is more prone to autolysis. And so what we did is we pitch normal yeast, underpitch it. And so these things are really struggling. Sprinkle in the second of the ferment, you sprinkle in that second yeast. Those guys kill the other yeast and then finish the ferment, which gives a really interesting texture, but it's a completely unique product. No, if I controlled the yeast coming in, if I didn't tell MGP where it came from, they can't go, not that they would, but like no one else can make that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So that's what we really want to do is we want to create variance with that. The one thing that ended up happening though, is I didn't really like the texture. And so we stopped doing that. And so our original lots were really special in that regard. Whereas now I really like that 95 rye, but I have altered the fermentation. Even though we distill every day here, I still source every year. I get at least 2 tankers of 44 rye bourbon. I get at least 2 tankers of 49 malt bourbon. I get at least 2 tankers of 95 rye, 5 malt traditional MGP every year. No matter what, for the rest of my life, I'm always going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's paint. I'm a painter. That's paint. You know what I mean? I can make shades of paint here that can't match that shade. And that's my shade that I love to paint with. So I'm always going to buy it, and I can mix in my own shades to make it my own, or I can still play with that. And I can paint other pretty pictures with the shades that we make here. That's how I view whiskey. And our real goal is to make the world's most diverse blending library. I want to have 100,000 barrels in inventory at our rick houses. I want to have them in 5 rick houses. 4 of them will be 28,000 barrel rick houses. One will be the one we have now. That's a 7,800 barrel rick house. And that'll be just shy of 100,000. And we want that. I want that to be, this is a 20-year plan. This isn't like tomorrow, but I want that to be about 20% sourced mostly from MGP, probably 15% from MGP. And the last 5% will be from our partners down from, do you drink mezcal at all?
Yeah.
Have you ever had Tobalo? Penca? Tobalo?
I don't know. I've got like 5. Hold on.
Yeah. So
I don't actually pay attention to what's on the label.
Yeah. So it's not Tobalo isn't mezcal. It's similar to mezcal.
I don't think I've had Tobalo.
So Tobalo is a specific type it's an agave distillate, right? And so I'm working right now as a consultant on a project in Mexico where they're making Tobala and Penca. And this is, we'll start releasing distillates probably in like 5-6 years. But like my idea is like, I want a ton of Tobalo. I want it here. I want it aging here in barrels to blend with. I have rum from Barbados. I have rum from Costa Rica. I have rum from Cuba. I have all these. Well, I don't have Cuban rum, but that's what I want to have. You know what I'm saying?
I want to taste all of it. That's what I want. You can have it. I want to taste it.
for my wedding, we did a spiced rum that we got. So when I bought Des d'Or, we got a bunch of stuff in the bankruptcy, and Des d'Or Distillery was basically almost completely. By the end, it was almost all owned by Seralis. And Seralis was basically using them as just a rum factory and a rye factory because they wanted to get into rye. And then just the quality was awful. So they just abandoned ship essentially. And so when we inherited a bunch of distillates that I refused, but there's 2 random barrels. There's a barrel of rum with no origin paperwork, so we can never sell it as rum. And then there's also a barrel-aged gin with no paperwork, so we can never sell it. And I said, yeah. And I said, screw it. I'm keeping both, man. So I still have the hell yeah. That's what, so the rum, we ended up spicing it. And then I bottled it as a DSS through the tasting room and just bought it for myself for my wedding. And just bought it bottle by bottle over time. And then brought it to my wedding. We had the spiced rum. It's awesome. It's really good. So anyways, that's inspired us to buy a couple totes of rum. And so now we have rum from Barbados coming that we're going to do a ton of seasoning on. Yeah, it's just the real motivation for it is we want the control of our finishing barrels. And so I don't really want to sell spiced rum. I want control on spiced rum barrels for rye because I want to put the right pepper on my rye, and I want to control that.
Yeah, we'll take that barrel in advance.
I got it down. I actually got the rum.
We're not doing barrel picks from anywhere else anymore. We're just doing Dancing Goat stuff.
Let's do it, dude. Let's have some fun. Well, one of the things that we really want to start doing is like, we want to bring people in and say, hey, okay, what'd you like, what you not like? I think, when you taste a bunch of single barrels, there's always, hopefully we're not giving you single barrels that just like fall off the cliff. Some of them do. That's with all. But if I give you something that falls off the cliff, it's usually because it had an astounding bouquet. But if you look at something like from a blending theory, why would you ever there's a banger. Like there's a real banger, like it has a completely full bouquet and a real long fucking gnarly finish. That's a single barrel. Don't blend that. Never blend that.
Yeah.
But if you have something that just falls off the cliff, but it has a great bouquet, but no finish, that's a phenomenal blender. Now let's find something with a stellar finish with no bouquet, put them together. What do you got? And so one of the things that you got a banger and a half, And so one of the things that we want to start doing are blended single barrels where we blend, take a 95 rye and blend it with, a straight bourbon, and then rebarrel it. And so
that sounds awesome. Yeah.
Not to like steal the boo rye. That was just an example. Where like I do a lot of malt, like a lot of malt. It's like a 10-year malt and like an 8-year wheat finished in like a new cooperage for 6 months in like a brand new barrel. That'd be stellar. And that's the kind of stuff that we really want to start looking at because it just brings more. There's more dimensions to play with, And the thing that I think what we've really embraced here is my dad and I are essentially retired. We work every day. We work really, really hard, but this is what we want. I want to die here. I want to die with my boots on here, just like my grandpa did. And it's a really romantic idea to me because I work with my best friends. I work with my brothers. I have so much fun here all the time. I'm looking at one of them across the table right now. This is a place where people show up and they give me everything they got, and I'm going to give them everything that I got. And that's being creative. That's creating gnarly finished barrels. That's creating blends that make sense. That's making connections with the whiskey community that can allow us to build our team and grow and spread our message and engage in just more of the great culture that is bourbon and whiskey.
Amen.
I'm
awesome. Well, you got to get home, but we could do hours, Nick. You and I could.
I'll come back. I'd love to. I didn't mean to cut you short. I just got to get back because I got the baby.
Of course. No, we'll do it again. We're doing it again.
When we get some of these
bottles in hand, maybe we'll have you come on for a live tasting.
I'd love to
with Nation. That would be a lot of fun. And you guys are blowing up. You're gonna blow up. You've already blown up. Yeah, I mean, you blew up once. You sold your rum chata brand, made a bunch of money.
Thank you. For anyone that ever bought rum chata, I thank you so much because you helped build my dreams here. We sold out in May to a fantastic family-owned company. I can't say the name, but you can Google it. And we're very fortunate that happened. And I promise you, with that fortune and that privilege, I am gonna bring fucking bangers to the table.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I'm just glad to know you at the point where you can come on YouTube, my YouTube channel, and talk whiskey because it's a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, I get so jazzed every time I talk to you. Like my soul is stirred. I'm just excited about whiskey. Like I just discovered it. Every time I talk to you, it's so much fun.
It's just there's so much beauty in life, and it's such a miracle we're here, Drew. It's such a miracle we're here, and beyond being here, I mean, we could still be in caves grilling woolly mammoths, and instead, we figured out how to make glass. We figured out what yeast is when we couldn't even see them. People figured out what the yeast is in their hair when there's no microscopes. I mean, how did we get this? People used to make rye whiskey in the fucking woods. That's crazy. With no citric acid to clean stills, no enzymes. It's a miracle. We're gorillas floating on a rock through space, and we figured out how to make whiskey. I mean, we should have a lot of fun together, And that's the thing that we really embrace here is like it's about exploring and saying yes and having fun, and that's what whiskey's about, and that's what I don't know. That makes being on earth tolerable to love and to love to create and to love to participate and to have friends and be social. It's fun, man. And I love you because you're fun, man. You just want to have fun.
I just ask you questions. That's all I've done. Every time we've gotten together, I just ask you a bunch of questions.
Well, I like to talk about myself because I'm a conceited a-hole. So I appreciate
I empathize with that sentiment. I definitely feel that myself. So we've talked about doing a assembly of our squad, Neat Nation, and I was thinking that actually housing up in Madison and, spending a couple days at
for
Dancing
sure.
Goat,
You're
maybe
Neat Nation.
yeah, right. I mean, it's definitely not central for a lot of folks, but I mean, it's in my backyard. So, and
Dude, if
ultimately,
Neat Nation wants to come, we can do a bottle share at the Dancing Goat. If people got a couple days, we can do a ferment. Like I'll put you
do a
guys
little
on the
gin class.
Oh, dude, please. I'd love to have you guys at the Gin Academy.
Yeah.
We're still working on getting that set up, but it'll be ready to go next year. We'd love to have you guys.
All right. Well, I'm going to text you tomorrow, and I'm going to set up a time that I'll be back out there just to hang out. And then,
dude, please.
And then we'll talk about maybe a nation assembly for sure. So,
dude,
Nick,
please.
Dude, thanks a lot. All you have to do is exit
brother.
out of here, and I'll free you up to go be with your family. But thank you for joining. I know everybody in the chat is just loving you, and I love you. So have a good night, man.
I love you too, man. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for taking a chance on me and coming for that tasting.
Oh,
and I'm
dude.
so happy you ended up at the Spaniard.
Paid off for sure.
You're the best, man. Everybody, thank you for your time, love, and attention and energy. If you want to connect with me, you have any questions about us, I'm DG_whiskey, WISCY online. I have 400 followers, so I'm not cool. And I answer every fucking email and text or whatever you got to send. And if you want,
it's true, he does.
If you want hot lot recommendations, if you want to know what I'm drinking, if you want to tell me what you're drinking, if you got something cool to recommend to me, if you want to know what's going on at the Dancing Goat, hit me up, man. I'm here to talk.
Fantastic. And I would highly encourage you all to do that.
Thank you, my brother.
See you, Nick.
I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too, man. Bye. Well, nation, you all just get a little tasty taste of the joy that it is to know Nick a little bit. And I spent a day with him, and then we've texted, had a couple phone calls, and then this. And yeah, it's just a remarkable human being. And yeah, I just want to spend more time with him because he's a ball of energy, obviously. Like the dude can go like that. He gets after it. He gets amongst it. But yeah, he's just like, as you all have noted, full of passion, and he honors his family, values his family, and yeah, I mean, like a lot of feels in that guy. I mean, very different worldviews, which is fine-ish. But like we were talking before y'all were on sort of about that, and I said, dude, I just want to let's sit down with a fire and a bottle, and let's have a good chat, because I feel like that would be edifying. So yeah, just send him a quick DM on Instagram. Tom, can you track down his Instagram handle? I have it, but if you can throw it in here, and if y'all enjoyed that, if you could just send him a thank you. Yeah, and we're gonna get his whiskey, and you will appreciate it. And I think when you talk to Nick, you get a better feel than in most conversations of like what actually goes into creating whiskey. Like for him, it's purely a passion project. I don't know what they made when they sold rum chata, but enough. Like, they don't have to actually keep doing this, but it allowed them to do something special and contribute in the world in a really unique way. And I love what they're doing at Dancing Goat. I'm sipping the 6-year cast strength rye right now, which is really, really solid. Our toasting rye, I can't wait to taste that again in January, because it was pretty good this second time we tasted it. And so I'm really hopeful for what that's going to taste like in January. And then of course we've got this, again, we talked about this corn whiskey. Now I know the mash bill, 100% corn, which is phenomenal. And then the 8-year, 21% MGP bourbon. It's just so good. And going back to the content real quick, if like that's the kind of crap, like that's why I started this channel. And I love that. And ultimately that's why I do what I do, is to get to chat with really cool people like that who just talk about what they do and love it, and ultimately are working because of how their work allows them to connect with other folks. And yeah, I mean, we'll go bananas for certain whiskeys. We get upset if we don't get them. People going crazy about Blanton's secondary market, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's all bull crap. there's a lot of good whiskey out there, and there's a lot of people doing really, really cool things. And I think people are catching on to that. Like, I think we'll leave the taters behind. I got called a tater this week for my Russell's Reserve 13 review, which is fine because I said I'd pay $200 for another one, which may make me a tater. That's fine. I think tater is just the most ridiculous, stupid name I've ever heard. But it's because I thought the whiskey was really good. But anyway, there are folks who are just like, chasing these highly allocated bottles to flip and resell, or they're chasing them purely because of the hype. And yeah, okay, that's probably not an approach to whiskey that I would identify with. And I think that will pass. Like, as hype goes, as fads go, that approach to whiskey will also go. But there's a heartbeat in American whiskey that is very evident in people like Nick that will, I think, carry this. I think it's a unique industry because of the folks like Nick that really drive it. And I'm stoked for that. That's why I love it. That's why I like to talk about it. And that's why I was really, really jacked when I went out to Dancing Goat, because I had just reached out to them. I didn't know the story. I didn't know Nick at all. So when I first talked to them, he actually wasn't the one who did most of the talking. So I didn't know the glories of Dancing Goat at all until we just showed up, me and Eric and Matt. And we're like, wow, this guy is special. This is a special dude. And the whiskey is fantastic. So, of course, they're doing a great job. They're selling out of their single barrel program already. They don't need any help from Nation. That said, if we get to play a little bit of part in the journey, that will just make my heart soar. So I encourage you all, if you are a member of the Patreon community, which there's a link down below, and you have the opportunity to buy these bottles, you're not going to be sorry. It's like $65. Like, you paid a lot more for a lot less, I guarantee to you. All right. We will kind of hang it up there. Brian did show up in the chat. Brian, what's up, man? Do you want to jump in now? Do you want to do a little, you want to talk about our bits? What did you buy this week? Or no? No? Let me know. If you want to jump in, that's fine. I understand you've had a busy day. Headed to Cincy tomorrow. I'll go through the bits. Obviously, I was drinking a lot of Dancing Goat stuff today. I hit our barrel picks and then the 6-year rye. But what I started this live stream with was FAE 01. FAE 02 is in this area. Eric has offered to pick it up for me twice, which I very much appreciate. I haven't seen it, but he keeps texting me, and then I don't see the text, and then I'm like, yeah, get it for me. And then he's gone already. So, Eric, just for the record, I will text you if I get it. If you see it again, get it for me. But FAE 01, which folks have been saying is not as good as FAE 02. And if that's the case, FAE 02 has to be extraordinary. And what I'd like to do is similar to what Brian did. I'd like to do a lineup of the SE4 PR5, the FAE 01, FAE 02, and the Maker's 46 cast strength, and do those blind and see which one wins. But FAE 01 is really, 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 really good. Like even Jay Coots, whatever, however you pronounce that, he told us once. Sorry, Jay. He's saying FAE 02 is better than FAE 01. If that's the case, I mean, we're talking about an all-time weeded whiskey. Like, tell me another weeded whiskey you can get. You can't do it. Because I scored FAE 01, scored on the Drew scale. You know, it's a fluid scale. I scored it better than Weller 107. Weller 107 is fantastic. It's my go-to weeded whiskey. FAE 01, more floral, perfumey, also has a little more oak. It's delicious. A lot to like for sure. It's viscous, it's sweet, it's spicy, it's oaky. Really great. If FAE 02 is better, I'm going streaky. Not really, but I'm going to be stoked to get it. So, Eric, I need you, man. I'm looking at you. I need you to come through for me on this one. Does anybody like FAE01 better than FAE02? Because I've not heard that. Oh, Brian's telling me to send him links. Sorry, dude. Yep, sorry. I'll get you. I'm stoked to have you on here. Be a little fun chat. I'm going to email you right now. Load, though. My loading speed is slow because I'm live streaming this. Don't read the work emails. Just open a new one. Still loading. Live streaming takes a lot of bandwidth, for sure. Okay. To Brian Bikey. Subject, links. Control V. And send. Actually, Command V because I have a Mac. All right, Brian. It's in there. See you in a hot minute. So yeah, that's what I was drinking. Big Makers guy. I have been and I will be unless they start sucking. Not likely. Then what did I get this week? I did pick up, and I was gonna kind of wait-ish to pick this up until I tasted it because apparently my friend Kyle Ramage, I forgot who sent it to me, but he was sending it to me, and I can't believe I forgot. But Kyle was gonna send me a sample of C921. Electric Craig barrel proof. So I'll leave this sealed until that sample gets here. But I didn't know that I was going to be able to get another one because they're kind of hard to come by now. They landed and I didn't know about it. Didn't see any others. I may see others, but anyway, I picked up C921. Our boy Matt Porter is in the chat. I think he said he's not liking FAE02. He says, I'm in the minority, I know, but yucky. He didn't like FAE02. Matt, you have any other tasting notes you want to throw down other than yucky? Or why did you like FAE01 better than 02? Because I think that would maybe help me kind of dial in a little bit. Oh, look, Brian's here. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Dude, just call me Nick Brady Maas.
Yeah, right. I can change the background though. I think I have another one.
This 10 a.m. introduction is sponsored by High Noon Sunset.
Oh yeah, I do have another background. Wait for it. I can switch this very quickly. We're fluid here. We can roll with the punches. Let's go.
Sipping on a little bit of some Spaniard.
When did you come in exactly?
Sipping on a little bit of FAE02.
Yeah. We're thinking along the same lines tonight for sure. I mean, even though you weren't there,
the fact that it's 100% corn is just like
astonishing.
Magic. It's magic.
Yeah.
It tastes nothing like mellow corn. I'll tell you that much.
I hope not.
It's not your mama's mellow corn.
No. You all set for your trip tomorrow?
We're getting there, yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty late, but all right. Well, and you've had a fun week, right? I mean, whiskey-wise. So I didn't talk. Well, I just talked about the whiskey. The only bourbon I picked up this week was that C921. But you got a fun email. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so anyone who's semi-near, actually, you don't have to be really, but if you are near Cincinnati area, Northern Kentucky area, the Party Source, which is in the same parking lot as New Riff. So if you ever go for New Riff picks, whatever, great store.
Amazing store. It's massive. It's huge.
Independent liquor store. They now have where if you download their app and make an account, you are automatically enrolled in lotteries for when they have allocated bottles. And I assumed it was a lie because I've gotten no emails and no notifications in years. And so I'm like, they just say that to get you to download the app. Until I got an email that said, you can come by a Four Roses limited edition, which I have not found one yet at retail. And so, which is interesting in Louisville, this is the second year in a row where it has hit a store, Kroger here, but Kroger's for the most part, or it's only if you're in at a Kroger that you get hooked up with it. So you know it's in town, but then you never see it anywhere else. And that's kind of the case here. Or I actually have seen it at a couple places, but they're all priced at, well at or around secondary at like $500. So, yeah, I got an email to pick that up, which is convenient because we have to drive up to Cincinnati tomorrow because my daughter has a surgery, and so I will be in town to pick it up. So
yeah, not a great
awesome
reason to be in
circumstances,
town, but a nice consolation at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sweet. You pick anything else up?
Oh, what did I pick up today? What did I pick up this week? No, man.
It's okay.
I don't know what I picked up this week.
I found myself less inclined to just stop at a billion places. Part of that is because I'm busy, very busy at work, and 3 kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I got to do here. I might. So my local store, the guys who I do a lot of business with, they have a midwinter night's dram that they were giving to one of their other bourbon guys because I don't get everything, it's only fair. And they said he hasn't come in. We reached out to him like a week ago. We still have it. So if he doesn't come in, then I'll go pick that up too, which I've tasted it, but I've never had a full bottle. It'd be nice to have a bottle around. It's good. It's not unbelievable, but it's good. It's a nice to have for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, similar along the lines of that Black and Willet, it's a finished rye. It's perfect cold weather. And I mean, the cold weather in Wisconsin's awful. It's just rough. It's not great. Cool. Sweet. I have 0 other topics, but what I would commend folks to, like, I won't keep you because I know you got things. My whole family's sick, so now I got things. I don't even know if my 4-year-old has made it into bed yet, so I got to get up and reinforce the wife. But I do want to thank Eric Sawyer, who has committed to help me land this FAEO2. Be a killer video when we get that, and then I'll have more open makers than I know what to do with, but that's okay. There are worse problems to have. Well, Brian, actually, why don't you? So I asked Matt to tell me. I thought he was talking about not liking FAEO2 better than FAEO1. He's like, I just don't like makers. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. But tell me what you like. Maybe recap your video about FAEO2 tasting notes and why you like it better than FAEO1.
Yeah, and I just poured some, so that helps.
And then we'll hang it up.
So when we were talking. Yeah, when we were talking on the stream, you were like, man, dude, FAE. I was like, FAEO1 is garbage. You're like, I don't know, man. I like it. It hits all the stuff for me. And then I think I quickly realized that I was probably talking about RC6, right?
Yeah, the very first one, yeah.
So then I got a sample of that to put up against the FAEO2 when I did it. And I'm not going to lie, though, I still don't like FAEO1. To me, it still tastes like the smell of pencil shavings, which to me is typical of makers. In general, it just tastes like makers. It tastes like Maker's Mark. FAEO2, I am torn on this product because there are things that I don't like about it, met with characteristics about whiskey that I do like. I feel like it has these artifacts that are in older whiskeys that I enjoy. Those are the enjoyable qualities. Slight tannins, dried fruits, date, fig, raisin, like an old leatheriness. But the things that I don't enjoy about it are like that thin, young graham cracker pencil note is still prevalent on the nose. Eric, it is less hot cat pee in this one, like it is in FAE01 and RC6.
There's nothing
there a little
there's
bit.
nothing
It's there a
hot
little bit.
cat pee-ish in FAE01.
I need some Nature's Best enzymatic spray for the nose on this one.
Oh my gosh.
Really tame down the urinal, artifacts. So
That's just a non-existent no. You're just being difficult. You're just being obstinate at this point.
now I don't remember if you said you got this or not. Here's the blind that I would like to see. I'd like to see Remus 5 go up against FAE02. That's what I'm more interested in. The low-priced, limited bottles.
Sure. Yeah. Well, we could do that on live.
Because
if
this,
I get
to me, like, when any of the reviewers that I hear say, this bottle right here is going to be in my top 10, I immediately am like, you've lost all credibility. Like,
FAE02, you wouldn't even put in your top 10?
It's not that kind of whiskey to me.
I mean, even this year,
that kind of whiskey.
Your top 10 this year. But people would put it in their top. Huh.
Now, I've been disappointed by a lot this year. I will say that. So if I had to recap, you know what? Maybe I'd eat my words and say, yeah, it's in the top 10. But, like, it has things that I like, but I feel like something that's got to be in my top 10 has to have a little bit of flair. I'm not disagreeing that it's got good flavor. I'm not disagreeing about its value. And I'm not disagreeing about its accessibility. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I'm just saying to be like, really? One of the top 10 bourbons all year? This? Hard. It's hard for me.
Well, I'm excited to lend my voice to the debate. Not that anybody particularly cares, but maybe a few people care.
You know what I
particularly
think?
As somebody who likes makers naturally. So if like there's a makers fan who likes makers, whereas you don't generally like it, Matt doesn't generally like it. So like there's that.
Do you know? So like you know me though. You know that I like complexity in a pour. I'll put it this way: if you like viscosity and body in a pour, this has some good elements to it. If you like some more nuance and complexity, I'd probably say our Dancing Goat pick beats.
Well, I mean, that's the most unique, amazing whiskey. Like, it's just, there's nothing else like that. Like 100%
You're saying because
corn.
it's unique that it, but does that, you're saying that?
No, I'm talking about ours. I'm talking about our pick.
Right.
I'm saying like, go ahead.
I'm just saying pound for pound, like escaping the differences of the two. I think that it's possible even that pick is still a better overall whiskey than FAE02. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, TBD. I didn't think about, like, assessing FAE01 against that. It's apples and oranges in terms of, like, kinds of whiskey. They don't taste anything alike.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. FAE02 is kind of hitting it tonight. It's like the most butterscotchy vanilla pencil shavings you ever.
Great. No, it's just woody notes. So you mentioned pencil shavings on FAE01, and I was like looking for it.
It's like you have graham
and I can't
crackers.
Find it. I'm like, there's nothing
it's like you have graham crackers coated in vanilla, but they're vegan graham crackers, and they're actually made out of pencil shavings. That's what FAE02 is like.
Here's Matt's take on the Remus 5 versus makers.
In which favor are you saying that, Matt?
In the favor of Remus? He doesn't like makers. Yeah, he really likes Remus 5. He doesn't like makers.
Here's my one experience with Remus, because Drew hasn't sent it to me yet. My experience with Remus,
it's sitting right here, set aside for you. I'll send it tomorrow.
My experience with Remus was tonight in between a flight of 2021 King of Kentucky's and a 40-year-old Armagnac. Right in between those is where I drank Remus. So you tell me how that would fare.
Yeah, probably not great.
100 proof MGP. Yeah, pretty boring. A little lackluster. Yeah. Needs a little bit more life in that private jet. You know
maybe so.
Saying?
I do. Squad, my
it's
daughters.
It's like a rapper's private jet flying from LA to New York City, but the rapper is actually in Toronto playing a show for his daughter at home in the mirror because his daughter actually isn't there because she's with mom that weekend, and the jet is still flying by itself empty. That is what it would. That is what it was like.
Okay.
In math terms.
A little lost, but just real quick before we wrap up, guys, if any of you missed the first 55 minutes of this,
you're ready to wrap up. I'm not even ready. Let's go.
Well, you can go if you want. I can leave you on, but there is things upstairs that I clearly need to go deal with. So if you want to riff for a minute and just chat with Nation, I'll come check on you in a little bit. I might live stream 30 minutes of blank, but I got to get up there. So I'll just leave you. You decide what you're going to do.
I want to know. I want to know what Nation wants me to do.
Real quick, though, I do want to say at the end of this, whenever we end it, the first 55 minutes with Nick, you need to go back and watch that. And then if you haven't yet, you need to join Patreon so you can get this and you can get the 8-year-old suggestions of buttercream barrel pick that are coming out. This one's going to be out like in a week and a half at most. The bourbon is going to be out probably December. So the link for our Patreon group is down below. Now I'm going to deal with that and you're going to just chat with people.
Sweet. Let's go. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. With We Could You Just Me. Guys, here's the deal. I'm a supreme audiophile. Can you actually even hear me? I don't even know which earbud I'm in. I'm a super big audiophile and videophile with a PH. So like the angle of which my camera is at right now and my mic stitch. Everything's torn down right now because my in-laws are coming in town to watch my boys. So nothing's set up and it's driving me bonkers. But I'm here so that we can talk. So if you've got questions, throw them at me. Andrew Beck, I cannot highlight your comment because I don't host. But I think Drew already did. Yeah, man, I'm glad you had a good time. I couldn't quite tell where the traveling thing was and whether you were saying the prices were better or not. But I want to know what you thought about Booker's 30. Oh, no, you already told me about Booker's 30. You said that you thought that the Four Roses was better. That's awesome. I love when one of those situations comes down where a bottle that you can't get anymore's value is super high and you find a product that you like and its value is super low. Those moments are my favorite. Those moments are my favorite. Jay Coots wants to keep this party going. I'll keep it going. I've got a noon here. I've got my glass here. And I've got these full bottles. These full bottles here. Guys, I've got a whole box. I've got a whole box of bottles I need to get open. And I've got a pick. I was talking about it last week. I still don't think it's ready for me to talk about, but I'll talk a little bit about it because no one's here to babysit me. But there is a new, I should probably even see if it's available yet. There's, if anyone doesn't remember, I started working with Ryan and Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit for Pursuit Spirits, doing some content creation stuff with them, photos, videos, working on a podcast for them as well. And with that, I started getting a bunch of they do picks via Keg and Bottle, and Keg and Bottle sent me a whole bunch of videos, or excuse me, a whole bunch of products to try to do videos on and whatnot. And one of the upcoming barrels from Bourbon Pursuit is amazing. Here's the deal. Bourbon Pursuit won't find out about this, right? Should I go ahead and talk about the pick right now? Should I go get it and talk about this pick right now? Or should I just stop? Joe Jug, when you're talking about the toasted Nulu Rye, are you talking about the one from the Bourbon Pursuit one that we did? Oh, okay. Yeah, the Bourbon Pursuit pick. Yeah, dude, I had a little bit of it last night. My wife liked it. I really like it. And when we were on the pick, I was not a huge fan of that profile, but as the bottle's opening, it's really, really nice. Hold on, let me go through these comments real quick. Let's keep party going. Prices here are way cheaper in Seattle. Cool. Bar had 3 unopened bottles of Booker's 30th. Dude, you should have asked to buy one. I did not, Tom. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of Nick. I caught the very end as he was heading out. Um, Eric, I'm about to change your life with pressed premium alcohol seltzers. Dude, I still can't find them. I've went to Kroger where I think you and I both looked up that they're supposed to have them. I can't find them. I don't think I'm going to get fired. I'm trying to look on the website real quick to see if they have it. Um, I don't think I'm going to get fired. I might get fired. Ugh, it's hard. But this is between us, right? Surely I could surely I could talk about it. Surely I could talk about it. It's not like I'm gonna do anything. I've already recorded a video for it. The problem is you all can't see that video yet because it's hidden. But this is an amazing product. I'm gonna go get it real quick. Don't leave. Don't leave the chat. I'm here. Okay. I'm gonna go get this bottle. It's right here. Just give me 1 second while I grab this bottle. Okay, I'm back. That was quick. Let's see, Andrew Beck. Let's see what Andrew Beck's saying. I'm doing this new thing where I have the YouTube going here. What do you know about Topeka Coffee? Not a huge coffee guy, but they had a shop next to my hotel. Dude, I used to know one of the guys from Topeka, and I think they do some cool stuff. I think it's a cool little coffee shop. I've not been there, but they seem pretty cool. Here's the deal, guys. I'm I'm not gonna be that guy to be like plugging Bourbon Pursuit, to be like saying, "Oh, sign up for the Patreon," and stuff. I'm not that guy. But as I review unbiasedly picks that are there, I try. A lot of I'll say is one thing about me. Whenever my buddies ask me for what a bottle tastes like, I try and objectively talk about the taste, and they're always like, "Okay, enough of that. Do you like it?" They always ask if I like it because I try and describe a bottle. I try and describe a pour. Whenever I do tasting notes, I try and describe it. Some things, have some biases in there when I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing," but I try and just describe it pretty objectively, right? And without really if I like it or not. So as I get these bottles in for keg and bottle, I'm trying to just provide some tasting notes, taste through them, and then probably say if I like it or not. And in case that sounds good to somebody, maybe they want to pick up a bottle, which is nice because aside from me and Drew's picks, some of the things that I talk about on my channel or some of the things me and Drew talk about, they're kind of hard to acquire. This is a unique one. I'm going to finish what I just poured in my glass so I could try a little bit more of it. Has anybody seen this label before? Anybody seen this label before? Know what this is? Anybody know? Anybody seen this label before? All right, this is, I don't know if this is craft. So this actually might be perfect to talk about here, but maybe it's not craft. This is the Burning Chair bourbon. Yep, Tom, you're right, Burning Chair. This is from Savage and Cook. That's, I don't know if it's the distillery, whoever it is. Started by Dave, I think involved with David Finney. David Finney he's a wine guy, Napa Valley guy. And he developed Prisoner wine and sold that, and he opened Savage and Cook as a distillery. That's what he wanted to do. Okay. So this is a pick that Keg and Bottle and Bourbon Pursuit did. This is the thing I said I couldn't talk about last week, but I can't stop drinking it. This is, if I'm not mistaken, 5-year low rye MGP aged in Grenache casks, Grenache wine casks. It is 59.1%, so it is a high alcohol puppy, but man, it drinks so good. And I would put this up against any BBC finished product. It is so drinkable and so tasty, but has so much complexity. The nose, the palate is awesome. So I've been super jiving on this, but I know that I'm pretty sure that this is available for people who are on the Bourbon Pursuit Patreon. Again, I'm not plugging Bourbon Pursuit Patreon here necessarily, but this should be available, and then my video will go live, and the link will be in there. If you watch the video, if you go like, hey, that actually sounds pretty good, but that's what I'm sipping on right now, and golly, it's awesome. It's outstanding. It kills. I should go get it. I feel like I should go get the Second Prisoner. Should I go get the Second Prisoner BBC to compare, like live compare with this? You all want to see a live comparison before I taste this? Should I do a live side by side with another sample, a sample of the BBC Prisoner? If you all want to see that, leave me some messages down below. Oh, Tom's thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Oh no, he's not. He's not thinking the same thing. Yeah, I agree, man. I think that you would be able to. I think you can tell a lot of the tickle that's in that Prisoner. One of the local stores, Andrew Beck. One of the local stores in Tulsa. I stopped in. I should put the chat. I should put the. So I don't have to keep looking over here. I should put it up on the screen. Give me 1 second. I don't need to keep looking to see if I'm live. I know that I'm live. So let me just click here so I can see all your all's comments here. Not top chat. We'll go to live chat. Okay. Andrew Beck says, one of the local stores in Tulsa I stopped at had a pick of that. I passed because I couldn't taste it, and he was hesitant to pay for younger. Yeah, to be fair, I don't even know that all their stuff is in GP. So you probably dodged a bullet on that one. This is the kind of product that I feel like is like Starlight. Starlight, I don't think I would just on a whim buy. I think I'd have to know the people who picked it or trust the palette of where it went to or got picked from or something like that. It's young whiskey. To me, you just can't. You just don't trust it. So I've got a couple. So Jug says yes. Does anyone else want me to compare this Burning Chair Grenache finished 5-year to the BBC Prisoner 2, which would be Dickel? If somebody else wants me to do that, let me know. I'll go get the other glass, and I will go get. I'll go get it for it. You know what? Screw it. Jug said yes. I'm going to go do it. Get another glass. I'll be right back. Okay. I don't have a lot. Left. Oh. I'll pour it out. We'll nose it, and we'll nose it. We'll get to it. Okay. Let's go. Let's figure it out. Man, Kyle's all in the Senate mode. Okay. Whew. Let's start with Prisoner. Okay. This is 2.
I'm back.
All right. Well, you got to wait because I'm in the middle of a tasting.
Oh, okay.
The people have what they want. So okay. Before, let me back up. The bottle I couldn't talk about last week, I decided with some suggestions to go ahead and mention it tonight, which is a bottle of the Burning Chair. That's a pick from Bourbon Pursuit and Keg and Bottle, and it's a 5-year MGP aged in Grenache casks.
What is a Grenache?
What's up?
What's Grenache?
It's a red wine. But then I was saying that I'm pretty sure that. So the Burning Chair is from Savage & Cook. The guy who created Prisoner Wine sold the brand to start Savage & Cook. So what I have now is another pour of this and the BBC Prisoner 2. And I'm going to do a little side-by-side. So Prisoner 2 has notes of lipstick, of orange sliced candy, slightly medicinal cherry, kind of like a sour cherry as well. I mean, it's bright for sure. It's lively for sure.
I was drinking Prisoner 2
2
last night, actually.
It kind of smells like the grape Twizzler pull-and peel. So that's interesting. But then definitely has like a little bit of that minerality you'd get from Dickel.
Yeah, but big
definitely
candy.
sweet.
I've like Prisoner
Sweet
2's grown
candy,
on me,
sweet
actually.
Sweet creamy candy. All right.
Yeah, very creamy. Very
let's go.
creamy. Big cream.
This Grenache one has more more like true grapiness. It has a little bit of like brown sugar. It has some more fresh orange. It has like the Christmas spice, kind of like I noticed in the our toasted or our rye that we're working on from Dancing Goat. There's a lot of saturation. There's a lot of stuff. There's a little bit of ginger. It's creamy too. It's dense. It's really nice. I'm gonna go to the palate on the BBC. I was mainly trying to see like would this craft whiskey be better?
What's the age on that burning chair?
It's 5-year low rye MGP.
Got it.
BBC actually, man, I haven't had this in a while. It tastes a lot older than I remember.
Yeah, it's like, grown on me too. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it thoroughly last night, whereas I was like on it before.
It's like you're eating orange slices while sitting in your grandpa's sofa recliner.
That sounds
Every
great.
grandparent has a recliner. You know, it's a leather recliner.
Some of this while you're talking about
orange slices. You get that big orange right away. Then you get that kind of leathery, what I call Band-Aid, which is probably just barrel char influence, like slightly medicinal. You get that right in the middle. But the linger is actually really fun, really light. Back to that like slightly like sour cherry candy. Yeah. It lingers really pleasantly. It's definitely an interesting progression.
It is crushable. It's really sweet.
It's definitely drinkable.
Tom says compared to the Dickel 15 with the Prisoner. So Dickel 15 similar, but without the rich fruitiness. Big orange, but the Dickel 15 as I got further on in that bottle, it got worse. Like the minerality got worse. Like the sweetness didn't hold up against the Flintstone vitamin. Whereas the further I've gotten on the Prisoner, it just gets more deep and rich. Like when I go back to the Prisoner, I like it more so far, and I'm a quarter of the way through the bottle now. So
right.
Those are just some thoughts, but I don't want to interrupt Brian's taste off here.
No, dude, go ahead. Yeah, so that's a lot better than I remembered. The finishing definitely adds to the Dickel. You're like, you got me again, George Dickel. And then it's like, oh wait, actually, that's better.
I agree with that take.
I'm gonna go to this Grenache finish one. The nose wins on the Grenache one for sure. Even though the BBC is pleasant, it's bright. It's a lot of high notes, not a lot of like full sensory. The nose is very complex, outstanding on the Grenache. So palate, I imagine you're not gonna be able to taste any of that age. So that's is what it is. What's the proof on the Prisoner 2?
Hondo.
Okay. Well, I think it's going to be hard to compare them because the viscosity is much higher. This is very dense and chewy. And as like craft whiskey or younger products, MGP or Wilderness Trail or otherwise, it kind of has that honey graham cracker note. That's definitely still there, but it's lots of brown sugar, lots of orange, lots of candied fruit sweetness. I don't know how to explain them. I don't know what Grenache is to know like what a like,
How it should
like,
influence it.
how it should influence it different than a Merlot, a Pinot, a Chardonnay, any other
Cabernet. Cabernet is
whatever.
very
Yeah.
common. Yeah, finishing wine.
The BBC, the best way to describe it, there are a lot of high notes. It's bright, citrusy, it's lifted, it's all lighter, easier to drink. Even though it has old age, there's lighter, easier to digest flavors. This Grenache one is more dense, brown sugary, caramels, vanillas, as you would expect with a young whiskey, because those are just typical whiskey notes with a lot of saturation of flavor. A lot of this, it's much more of a textural pour than it is age or any of that. I mean, it's really thick. It's really slow moving down the sides of my mouth. So for a finished whiskey, it's so juicy as it lingers on the palate. And where the BBC lingers with like a candied flavor, this lingers more like you ate fruit chews, like you give your kid fruit chews made with 100% real juice. What are those called? They're not gummy bears.
Like a fruit
What are they
leather?
called?
Oh, are you thinking the
I wasn't thinking
Welch's fruit chews?
like fruit fruit chews that are
Yeah,
very
no, I know what
juicy.
you're talking about. Yeah.
That it tastes like that more so than it tastes like candy. Andrew Becker, I'm going to be chasing 4 roses forever to try and find something that compares to the OBSQ I had last night. Do you remember the OBSQ? Did you take a picture of it? I got some OBSQ, dude. I can see you some samples.
I probably have 1 or 2 too, as well.
He said
Two as well.
Grenache is big raspberry, usually low tannin. Okay, predominant grape and so on Spain. Oh yeah, it does remind me a little bit of Spain. Good call, the Spanish wines, and it's dude, I'm not gonna lie, it's fire. It's delicious.
What is
I was crushing.
What is the price point for that burning chair pick?
No clue. $80 maybe.
No clue, but here's a guess.
I'm just gonna assume it's not super cheap, but I'm gonna assume it's not over 100 either.
All right, sweet.
I don't think I've gotten anything about it, but it's time for my son's break.
That sounds really great right now. Actually, I may finish with
Bad
that.
timing for that. Actually, I was gonna grab this other Dickel product over here and drink it. You know,
It's gonna be bad now.
It's weird. All this Dickel stuff that's going into various companies' blends, like BBC, I feel like is giving Dickel a worse name than it would have. And I say that because I was drinking some. I had a 14-year Dickel the other day, and I was like, "Dude, this is good." And I had
it's a Pursuit Series 14-year, right? Like batch 2.
Yeah, I have a sample. It's like 5. It's batch 5. I had a sample downstairs. I drank it. I was like, "This is pretty good." Then I opened another bottle that's an 11-year, and it's very earthy, which I don't exactly agree with, but it's also Dickel, and I'm like, this also isn't disagreeable.
Was the 11-year the Pursuit Series?
It is a Pursuit Series. It's 38.
Oh gosh, oh my, yeah. So I had one. I forget how old it was, but it was an early batch, like first 10, and they called it like their tagline was "Welcome to the Creamery," and it was delicious. I love the snot out of that. So Dickel can make some fire barrels, but I think the general consensus is that minerality is hard to overcome.
So do you think they just kept them all for like what? Why?
I think the general profile.
Why are the Dickel barrels that most people have right now suck?
Well, I think that these picks that the guys, Pursuit did in
Mm.
Which
Yours was
I like.
episode 3, age 9 years.
Oh wow, it was. I mean, it was thick. Like it was.
This one is a
rich.
treat. Welcome to the creamery.
Right, that was the one. Anyway, what was I talking about? Okay, so I think those guys know how to pick a barrel. And I think generally speaking, maybe even the folks at Dickel don't mind the minerality. And it's a general, like it's a presence in their profile. And so something that is delicious from there, lacking the minerality, is actually off profile. That's my take on it. That they exist, these fire barrels exist, but that they're not very common.
And this one's weird. This one has, I don't remember, I think you would remember more than Nation remember, but you know that I've talked about before one of the new riff picks that I had that tasted like dirt.
Yeah. Classic.
And I have a Willet that started off tasting like dirt. The notes on this one, tell me if this sounds appetizing to anybody. It's as if your favorite mushroom risotto with a hint of truffle just became a bourbon. I don't know who all eats mushroom risotto, but like,
well, I would eat
doesn't
that.
sound. It doesn't sound all that appetizing to me.
Oh, dude, no! A mushroom risotto with truffle sounds amazing to me, particularly with some like really coarse black salt.
Dude,
if I'm eating it, when I think of like a whiskey, I don't necessarily want to drink that. Like it depends on the application.
Yeah, maybe it's lost in translation. This has a nose that's a little bit mineral, but mostly oaky, and that's baller to me.
Yeah, we know that. I think both of us are very into the oak, so long as it's not like an over oak, double oak. Like there's a line. There's like well aged oak, and then there's artificial oak, and there's a big difference.
Yeah, this is oaky, earth toned, not a lot of fruit, not a lot of sweetness, with a touch of orange. That's a musty zombie.
Musty.
You'd like this. You'd like this one. I think you'd like this. Dude, it is super
I'm
dark
open
and
to trying anything.
I think you like fruit, but I think you would like this.
We got to get you up here to go hang out at Dancing Goat. Maybe a meetup would be a good idea. Like maybe it would be a cost-effective place to meet up, and that dude would treat us like royalty. Like the squad. Like they would take care of us.
Picks too.
Well, I mean that's certainly
gods.
I am God. That's very sacrilegious.
That's why I didn't say God. I said God.
Yeah, right.
I'm very idolatrous is what I'm talking about.
I apologize. Anyway, I think Nation would enjoy that for sure, and it'd be a killer bottle share spot. But we would need to do like 2 days. Like, okay, first day is Dancing Goat tour and tasting, and then bottle
the second
share.
Day would be at Untitled Art.
That is, I don't think that's anywhere close to Dancing Goat.
I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right. Well, Nation, if you are interested in such a thing, I need to know. I need to know how many people would come to a meetup. You don't need to be a Patreon member necessarily, unless everybody from Patreon wanted in, then we'd have to limit it. But we talked about a meetup, and I was like, maybe, some Kentucky festival, but maybe we'd just do something, at a place that makes sense. And certainly given the kind of traction we have right now at Dancing Goat, maybe that's it. So let me know. Give me some feedback. Hit me up in the comments here, in the chat, or on Patreon, or on Instagram at 3P Whiskey. Let me know. Anything else
we should... positive. Where did Eric Sawyer said it's 15 minutes away, dude? 15 minutes
from Untitled.
My favorite brewery.
I mean, we could do a 3-day thing, and we could do beer for sure. We could do bottle share. We could do Dancing Goat, like tour and tasting. Tom's in. I knew he was in. I didn't even have to ask. I figured. Kyle said he would come.
This Dickel is good. This Dickel is good.
Nice. Not all Dickels are created.
I'll bring this up. I will bring this Dickel to the tasting.
I would expect to
when we
see
have our
your
meetup.
Dickel there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a meetup unless we see Brian's Dickel.
It's girthy. It's girthy, kind of like a stag.
This may have been the closest we ever got to the bourbon junkies.
I wish.
Good,
I wish.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Got about
All right.
4,000 less watchers, but that's fine.
Listen, it's all relative. And as far as I'm concerned, if people don't like the content that we laid down with Nick earlier today, they can suck it. Like, I just
That's rude.
Well, I mean, this is what they want. This is what I want to make. And so it's like if there's not enough drunk people involved, then whatever. I don't care.
Hey, all I'm saying is people really enjoying the Brian Hour. They were digging on it.
Nice. I'm sorry I came back and ruined it.
No, I didn't say you came back and ruined it. I'm just saying it was pretty live. That's all I'm saying.
Pretty killer bit.
Pretty killer bit, I guess. Yeah. Maybe. I was about to pop something, but
well, let's have it.
Ruined it. No.
Okay. I am gonna wrap it up now because we're close to 10 now.
Dang it!
I apologize.
Just getting going.
The daughter is now on the couch. Things are falling apart.
My daughter's
everybody's sick.
Surgery tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean it's not
make it. So
is it really that bad?
It's fine. Well, I think Chris is worried about that. You know, I guess with it's a spinal surgery.
Yeah,
it's a spinal surgery. So she's like, well, spinal surgery always has risk of paralysis and/or morbidity or mortality. And I'm like, I thought we were just going to Cincinnati.
I thought I was getting 4 roses. Yeah, no, I mean, of course, with every surgery, there's risk, but generally those risks are small, so hopefully it goes well. But text me, please.
What's up. He says, after hours stream on my channel. Dude, if I knew how to make that happen, I would start doing that. I'd start doing it.
You can just,
after.
I told you I would give you the login here so you could use this account to live stream on your channel. We can just add another YouTube channel to the account.
Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. It's like,
yeah, but it's so late your time. It's almost 11.
Can you split it so it goes live to both of our feeds?
Not to both of our. Maybe we could do both feeds.
Look at this. Oh, dude, is this throwing you off or what?
Oh, here's what I could do. I could just come check. You could just text me when you're done. I could do this.
What? What did he just do?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I can just like.
This is so weird.
And then it's just you. And so if people like want to stay on here with you until 3 o'clock in the morning, they could do that. I'm sure that'd be entertaining.
Then what did you do? Did you leave the chat and then did you leave it and come back?
Well, so the chat is still up on my screen, but I remove my feed from that.
So what would happen if you removed your feed and I left the studio? What would happen?
It would stream nothing. The stream would stay active until I turned it off. So it'd just be streaming nothing for who knows how long.
I mean, there's not. It doesn't sound like a lot. It sounds like only. Oh gosh, Eric and Tom both just want to keep getting it on. They want to keep getting on with my girthy Dickel, and I don't know what I want to do.
All right. Well, I'd say save it. You need to invest in your family tomorrow. You need to be there. You need to be with it. You need to be energized. You need to be focused.
Why do you care so much about tomorrow? You keep me up to 11 every Thursday.
Yeah, well, your daughter has surgery tomorrow. That's it.
I was joking.
That's the difference, yeah. Anyway.
You know I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm pissed drunk now. I've done nothing but drink 15 ounces of bourbon since I jumped on the stream.
15 ounces of Dickel. I don't think I've ever heard you say a kind word about anything.
Eric's got to go to sleep, and I don't actually care about Tom, so.
Dicklish.
We just got it.
Well, Eric didn't even commit to our meetup, but Tom did. So Tom's higher in my book right now than Eric. I keep score. John says,
Dude, this mushroom risotto bourbon is what's up.
That doesn't sound good. John says Dancing Goat is over 600 miles away. It would have to be 3 or more days to make it worth it. Well, John, do you play golf? You can do it in April.
Stop it. This is the worst. You're going to make me drink again.
It wouldn't be the first time. Nation, good stream tonight. Again, go back and watch the stuff with Nick earlier because it was classic Nick. We'll have him back on. So I think the plan will be, maybe when we get both of these, maybe when we get one, but we'll do a live tasting. We'll have Nick back on and just let him go because that dude is all you have to do is get him talking. He literally, like anytime I talk to him, he has this really crazy story that's true about something that happened in his life. And I'm like, wow, he's lived 8 lifetimes and we're like the same age. So killer guy. So yeah, go back and listen to the first 55 minutes. And then it was me and Brian after that.
Digging your energy tonight, man. Your energy is like so zen. I'm just saying like the creation of which has existed and the way that we've come since cavemen is like incredible, man. And I just hope that your energy feels that progression of life.
You doing a Nick impression?
I don't know. Am I? What are you talking about?
You need like to turn the volume up to like 3 times what your current volume is to match Nick's volume.
I'm so psyched and ready to go.
Okay, well, I honestly don't know what that was. Like,
if anybody wants to keep up chatting with me, follow me at Abandoned Bourbon on Instagram and send me some chats, and I'll chat with you.
Dude, just go live. Just go live right now. I'll just follow you as I fall asleep.
I don't like going live on Instagram though because then I have to actually hold the phone in my face the whole time.
Get a little tripod. A phone tripod.
I'm not gonna like. I do have one, but I'm not going to get it out. I put it in the closet already because it packs it away for the in-laws. So.
All right. Okay. All right. That's it. We're done, y'all. Plenty of stuff in the comments below. Follow Brian.
Don't forget the show is sponsored by Heinen Sun Sips, the gluten-free, no sugar added, low calories,
and keep it
in winter.
Bye.